Hey everybody, I just wanted to show you guys the best Witchcraft powers for the Companion Druid and the ones that I think are just the most interesting in general, because I think the ones that are good for Companion Druid are also going to be good for a lot of other builds. So real quick, just to go over the unique ones, so you have Doom Orb. It just does some damage. I don't know, I messed around with it and it never really did anything too crazy. I can't scale fire damage, so it's not really all that great. Piranado, this was just really slow. I love it because it's a Witch Doctor thing, but like from D3, but it was really slow. Like the Piranha moving itself towards enemy, it was so slow. So it's like, what's even the point? And then we have the Cycle. This one I did like. It does poison damage, and then it also heals you. I got so much healing out of this. This one felt great to play. If you also need to poison things for utility, or if you're playing a poison build like I was doing with my Poison Creeper build, also really good. As a druid, you have a lot of ways to scale this, and as a companion druid, you definitely have ways to scale poison damage now. So, Vengeful Spirit, this one is going to be super good. While active, all damage taken is instead taken by the spirit. So, Vengeful Spirit Servant deals X damage. When Vengeful Spirit's life is fully depleted, it rushes up to 8 enemies, dealing X shadow damage. The reason why this is good is because every 5 seconds, you don't take damage for 10 seconds. That's amazing, right? So stay alive for 5 seconds. Your Vengeful Spirit Servant will come out. You take no damage, right? So that's kind of interesting. Now, obviously, when the Vengeful Spirit's life is fully depleted, it does rush it. It has like a set amount of life, but like it's still pretty good. So I like the Cycle. I like Vengeful Spirit. I thought these two felt pretty good to use. The other two, not really so much. Okay. Moving right along. So, a lot of these are just kind of flavor, like Abyssal. It's like, oh, trigger a shadow explosion, cool. But the ones that I thought were fun, or I guess were good, was Aura of Lament. So this gives you a crowd control slow. And the reason why this one's good is because it will trigger other things. So, for example, it'll trigger your aura specialization. The size of your aura effects are increased by 79%, and it increases the critical strike damage by 50% against enemy inside the aura effects. So when you're running around and you're attacking things, if they're in the aura, they're going to take 50% increased crit damage. This is going to be pretty good against bosses, that are obviously going to be inside of your auras all the time. So I thought that was pretty good. Then we have Breath of the Coven. This one's going to be pretty interesting. Dealing damage or applying crowd control effect is going to increase your attack speed. Now, I'm not 100% certain this one's going to be super good for Companion Druid, but I do think it's going to be good for other builds in general, just because they can just get a ton of attack speed from it. The next one is Decay Augmentation. This one is going to be specifically, it's amazing for Poison Creeper. I played it on the PTR, and it kind of makes the build. So at rank 10, when your damage over time effects exceed 85% of the target's total life, they immediately die. This makes the build feel so much better because you just spam Poison Creeper on everything, and then all of a sudden it just dies. It doesn't matter. You don't have to wait the full duration. And it gives us a reason why we can put Poison Creeper duration on our gear. Because then, if we have more duration, it's going to fill up their life bar total much faster. So, before it was just kind of like, why do we care if the duration is longer? It's not that big of a deal. But now it's like, well, with Decay Augmentation, it's very relevant, right? The next one is Grow. So since in my companion builds, I typically will do like Cataclysm with Mjolnir Ring and a like Harlequin Crest or something like that to help reduce the cooldown of your Cataclysm. You can get your Cataclysm down to like a 20-second CD. So you can have this up like every 5 seconds roughly. I think if you have like really perfect gear and like good rolls, you can probably get it down to where you have Cataclysm up all the time. So you have this up all the time. This makes your companions just grow larger in size and deal 45% bonus damage. It's really only relevant for Wolf Druid. It's not super relevant for Ravens or Poison Creeper. I didn't really notice any difference when I was using it for Ravens and Poison Creeper, but it definitely was hilarious because it roid rages out your wolves and it makes them massive. And it also gives a 100% crit chance while they're enlarged, so that's pretty good too, I guess. Also, keep in mind that they actually made it to where I believe your summons will now actually proc your lucky hit effects. At least that's the way it seemed on the PTR, and that's the vibe I got out of the developer chat. So keep that in mind. Minions seem to be proccing various types of lucky hit effects now, or at least companions do. So that's pretty cool. The next one's Hex of Shattering. So this is going to give you a 20% damage reduction. So damage done by your witchcraft effects afflicts enemies with Hex of Shattering. So for example, you go back to, I believe it was Decay. So your witchcraft effects deal 39% of damage over 5 seconds. Oh no, it's not that one. It's Aura of Siphoning. Sorry, this one. So you conjure an Aura of Decay that deals poison damage, that also heals you for 1% of your life while doing poison damage, and then it also applies your Hex of Shattering, which is going to give you 20% damage reduction. So I thought that was pretty solid. That's another like little solid combo there. Hex of Whispers, not so great. Hex Specialization, not really that great. Lifelink, I don't think is going to be good, maybe specifically for Companion Druid, but I want to point this out because this one just strikes me as one that, like, with the right build, it could be broken. I don't know. 3,000% of the damage you take is shared with the linked targets as physical damage. So, I don't know. Or either that or maybe it's like a whole... It's like either going to be like really good or just like kind of a whole box of nothing, right? I didn't mess around with it a crazy amount on the PTR, though. So, Poison Frog Servant. I think this one is particularly okay in the Poison Creeper build because we do have ways to scale its damage. Keep in mind, and this is the unique thing about the Poison Creeper build, is that while yes, we do use Shepherd's Aspect on a weapon, right? We do also have access to Creeping Death, right? So our damage over time effects do more damage. That applies to everything. Not only that, the Shred was changed to where on the PTR, after you did the third attack, it gave you a 30% poison damage amp. So any poison damage you did 30% more, right? Well, they actually buffed that to 150% in the patch notes over this dev chat. So you actually have ways to actually scale the Poison Frog's damage on top of just general multipliers that will apply from your Paragon tree, things like Heightened Malice and stuff like that. So Poison Frog Servant actually could be pretty solid in a poison build. Or like a rabies build or something like that, right? And then we have Shaken Soul. So Eldritch effects apply vulnerable to enemies for 9 seconds at rank 10. Damage from Psych and Growth and Decay effects will also apply to the vulnerable. So this at half the duration. This one's really good if you don't have access to vulnerable, or for like if you can get this to rank 10, and then you go and you take your the cycle. Boom, you have vulnerable on everything because this thing poisons everything. It's very effective at poisoning, right? So keep that in mind. Then you also have the Aura of Siphoning, another one right here. So you have ways to proc vulnerable if you don't have a way to do it yet early on in your build. So I think this one could potentially be good, at different points depending on your gearing and stuff like that. But it might not end up being Abyss one that you want at the very, very super in game. Soul Harvest. Feed upon the life force of enemies. This is going to be the last one I think is good. So feed upon the life force of nearby enemies. Whenever you use a skill with a cooldown, increasing your primary stat by 3% per monster for 15 seconds. And at rank 9, Soul Harvest does not lose duration as long as there's enemies nearby. So this one I thought was also pretty good because if you move fast enough, you can just have this buff up. It'll help you just kind of speed farm, get through dungeons a little bit faster, I guess. I don't know. It might not end up being Abyss one, but I think it has some potential. We'll see how it actually ends up shaking out on the live servers, but I felt like it felt pretty good to me on the PTR. So that is it for that. Sorry I haven't made any Diablo videos lately. There hasn't really been a whole lot to do anything on, and I was actually at work for like freaking ever. But yeah, so thanks for watching. Like, subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you guys next time.